And good morning. We're live on YouTube on the Falcons Podcast. We're going to bring up our Facebook groups, Atlanta Falcons on SI and Scott Kennedy Sports. At least we're going to try. StreamYard and Facebook haven't been playing real nice with one another here lately, but we'll see how it goes. Welcome in, everybody. This is the Wednesday edition of the Falcons Podcast. It is Wednesday, February 5th. We're already a week into February, which means, for me personally, Nick, next week's baseball season already. They play live games in Georgia. Baseball is a winter sport. They call it spring, but it's not. They play February and March, and that's still winter. So I'm ready for some baseball season. But professionally here, what we're talking about, it's off season, right? No, it's the news and rumor season. And boy, we had a couple of bombshells this week, especially yesterday with Kirk Cousins running his mouth on podcasts and Myles Garrett hearing Andrew Berry say, "I have no intention of trading Myles Garrett at the Senior Bowl." And Myles Garrett says, "Yo, I want out." So we're going to hit on both of those today, and we might be able to hit that mock draft that we forgot last week. First off, how you doing? Nick?
I'm doing pretty well. Can't complain. We have an inch or two of snow this morning. I noticed that as I was walking down to the basement. So going to have to find my car scraper. That's not great. People in Seattle, we get so little snow that I see people, with their credit cards out there getting their windshields.
Tip of your umbrellas.
Yeah, exactly. Actually, an umbrella is a telltale sign that you're not a local out here because it doesn't rain like hard enough that you just need a rain jacket. Yeah, exactly. So it's like it's a mist. So if you're walking out here with an umbrella, people like in the street point at you, like not one of us, outsider. But no, we're good. We need the snow anyway. So that's our
WNBA team, the Seattle Reign.
The Storm.
There was a team that was called the Seattle Reign, and it was
I think that's the female soccer team.
I was okay. The NWSL team. I'm like, that's a cool name.
But it's Reign as in like Royal Reign.
Yeah, like REINGN Reign. I'm like, that's a cool name. That is a cool name.
Yep, they're a cool one. We need to bring back the Sonics, although the NBA is kind of falling apart. And my little tinfoil hat thing here is that we had that huge NBA trade. I don't even watch NBA, and it moved the needle for me. Luka Doncic for Anthony Davis, and then like 24 hours later, we have Myles Garrett saying, "Hey, I want out of here." Like you said, it's like you almost wonder. It's like Goodell's like, "This is our week. This is the bleeping Super Bowl. We need something to happen." Garrett, do it.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I don't know. I haven't watched NBA in a long time. You get kids, and really since I started working in sports media, something had to give. So it was Miami because Atlanta fans, as you know, if you're my age, the only team worth a damn in the '80s were the Hawks, and they were a fun team then, but I haven't really watched them. The NBA locked them out in '98 and pissed me off like a bunch of billionaire owners because I've always been pro-athlete, and the NBA locked them out. And then after that, when the Hawks came back, they've pretty much been dreadful ever since. So I haven't had a lot of reason to get back into the NBA. But we go live every Monday and Wednesday because we like having the conversation with y'all. So we want to say hello to some folks that have come in nice and early. Like Denver Luke, he says, "Good morning, Scott. Best time of year. Any Falcons mock draft today?" Maybe. If you remind me, if we get into it, get my attention because meant to do that on Monday and forgot. Instead, I just talked about the one that I had done before the show just to make sure it would work. And he's coming in with a super chat. Appreciate that, my friend. He says, "Also wanted to show a little love. You always make my day better. I've been watching since 2021. Goodness gracious. About to wrap up year 4 and start year 5 on this little venture, Nick." So Michael Ronquillo, one of the good ones, he's always with us as well. And he's in Tucson, Arizona. So we know he's up early to get here, to be here with us. Red Swarm, he says, "Good morning, Scott, Nick, and my friends. In this morning's chat, that's all, y'all." He says, "Rise up." And Chris wants to get right down to it on the Kirk Cousins thing. So Kirk Cousins comes out on one of the podcasts yesterday and basically says, "Yeah, the Achilles didn't bother me so much, but I did take a pretty good hit in the New Orleans Saints game and tried to play through it and never was quite right, but nobody's ever quite right at this time," kind of lawyering that thing up, saying that well, nobody's really healthy this time of year. And now that the season's over, I really got a chance to get this right, and I'm looking forward to a new life in professional football. You want to translate that for me, or should I just go ahead and get that for you?
I mean, he's gone, and that's pretty much, duh. And also, it's not all my fault that I was stinky at the end. I had a injury, which begs the question, if he did have an injury, I understand, going out there, the gladiator mentality, but you're an older quarterback and you had a viable option back there. I guess, like, if you go that way, that could be the end of it for Cousins if Penix plays well. But also the Falcons were very much in the middle of chasing it right now. You have to wonder why they just didn't make the switch then. I know that it would maybe hurt some feelings, but if you're hurt and you're in a playoff hunt and you have a viable option behind you, it's not about feelings. It's about trying to win football games.
Yeah, after that New Orleans game, it was just, there's no way it's like, oh, he can't play, and then they leak after the fact. Well, they didn't think he could play. They think he's done. Where he was basically, he just coming off that 500 yards Tampa game. Then he goes to New Orleans. It was 0 touchdowns, 1 interception. And from that point on, it was, pretty much terrible. No, I'm sorry. I'm reading this backwards. They do, it was the second New Orleans game. So before that, he played against Dallas and had 3 touchdowns. And the second New Orleans game was when he got dinged. And after that, it was 0 touchdowns. And he had 1 against Vegas and 1, 2, 6, 9 interceptions and 1 touchdown after that before they finally benched him. And, as Chris, you ask, I can't necessarily accuse anyone of lying, but I can damn sure accuse all of them of lying. As far as sitting up there during the season, no, he's fine. After the season, no, this isn't a health concern at all. When they bench him, no, this is a football decision. This is its health. Kirk is there any health bothering you? And I think, to be fair, was always asking about the Achilles. Like, no, the Achilles isn't really bothering me at all. Lying through omission is something I've heard. I always didn't really think that is lying, but I guess that is lying through omission. No, my Achilles is fine, but my shoulder and elbow are about to fall off of my arm here. And, does the coaching staff know this? Yes, they absolutely know this. As Brian Finneran, former Atlanta Falcon radio personality, said on X, he's like, I knew this, that there was an injury there. He showed up on the injury report for like a minute and said it was a clerical error. Oh, no, we're fine. That pisses me off.
Yeah. And
that should piss y'all off too. The dishonesty there. And it's one thing, do we have the right to all that information? Well, yeah, it's kind of within the rules with betting and all that kind of stuff. You can get in deep shinola for hiding that kind of stuff. But as far as the team goes, when you've got a 24-year-old number 8 rookie that you then gush and gush and gush and gush and gush over because he is the future of your job depends on that rookie. Sure would have been nice to get him in there for a couple of those spells and let Kirk heal up. And if Penix plays lights out and you have to bench Kirk because Penix was so good, so be it. Win the damn games.
There's literally a phrase for it. Wally pipped. I mean, right? That's sorry. Again, this is not about protecting everyone's feelings or some sort of pecking order. It's about winning football games. And Cousins, as you mentioned, those last games, I mean, including that Saints game, I don't know when he got injured, but 0 touchdowns, 1 interceptions, 300 yards, 60% completion, 66 against Denver, 173 yards, 0 touchdowns, 1 interception, 245 against the Chargers, 0 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. I mean, after that, it's like, man, we probably would bench him, but then we go to Minnesota, 344 yards, but 0 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. That last Vegas game, that was at a Thursday night. I feel like I was driving across the country during that game. But yeah, that's in hindsight, obviously they should have made the move. You had more information on Penix and you might have made the playoffs, and that's,
well,
who knows?
The thing is yes, there's a chance that Kirk Cousins is back in a backup role. This ain't Madden, y'all. When we start talking about team chemistry and what does Kirk want to do? Because yes, what the player wants to do matters. Well, he's under contract. Yeah, but it still matters. You don't want that distraction in your locker room for your newly minted franchise quarterback, 25-year-old, basically, first-year guy with this young team. You don't want that around. And here it is. And Kirk Cousins, like I said, what I basically heard was, yeah, I'm out of here. We've already had this discussion. I'm gone. And he wouldn't sit in, even if it's a sit in, a hold in. What do they call these things now, Nick?
Yeah.
He's not playing for the Atlanta Falcons again.
No,
he's just not. And, anything we've seen or heard or done, Terry Fontenot coming out and throwing him under the bus. oh, we're very comfortable, but no, he played like crap, and we wanted more, and I'm very disappointed. But yeah, we're very comfortable with him as a backup. Come on, man. What do you say? How do you talk out of both sides of your mouth like that and keep a straight face? This isn't Madden, y'all. It's just not. And Kirk Cousins will not be. I hate talking in absolutes because I'll play this back February 5th. Kirk Cousins will not be with the Atlanta Falcons in 2025.
Yeah, I think it. And where do you think he will end up? Right now, I don't know if there are betting odds out there. Markets will get a lot of information at the Senior Bowl and the Combine. I mean, let's be honest. For the NFL media, like the Super Bowl, obviously is about the game, but it's the exchange of information, and the Combine as well. It's about the players, the testing, the medicals, the interviews, even more important than that. Which if you're in or you're out, that depending on if you get that. But it's the exchange of information, the agents, the players, the media. So I'll be curious right now. If you made me bet, I think Cleveland is the destination. Stefanski has the relationships there, and Cleveland is in a world of hurt financially. They're going to be in a world of hurt also if they move on from Garrett, because the guarantees, there's going to be a lot of dead cap, I believe, probably associated with that.
It's not as bad as you might think.
Okay,
I think if you get the other team to take on, because I just wrote this up, and basically he's got a vet min base salary. I'm like, I started writing it up. These guys get more creative than New Orleans Saints, but I'm like, no, let me delete that because this looks a little bit different. There's some void years in there, which I don't quite understand. How do you have a $36 million void year against only a $10 million dead cap in that same year? I don't understand that. Because you can't waive a void year. So he's not on the team already, but he's basically $20 million because of an option bonus that you would have if you took him on against 36 million dead cap. So if you were able to move on from him, it's minus 16. That's not that bad because he is entering the fourth year of his 5-year deal. So he has gone through some of that. So the dead cap that they'd have to take on isn't that bad for Myles Garrett. So want to say hello to a couple other folks. Stephen B says, can we have a moment of silence for the NBA? The Luka trade might be the last straw for me. Tony says, even during the Super Bowl, we're in the press cycle. Even on Super Bowl week, everything's kind of an echo chamber right now. We got into last night, based on your preferences and whatever apps you use, it just keeps feeding more of what it thinks you want. So Kirk Cousins was trending for me on X. Well, yeah, that's because I search Atlanta Falcons and post Atlanta Falcons and do all this stuff all the time. It's an echo chamber, but he was trending. And getting to Myles Garrett, and let's tie this into the Kirk Cousins thing, because $1.25 million of Kirk Cousins and the Cleveland Browns makes sense for them. They need all the help they can get on the salary cap front because they've got the worst transaction in the history of professional sports on their books still in Deshaun Watson. And again, I will say stuff like that, but I mean it. That's not hyperbole. The worst deal in professional sports was probably the Cleveland Browns and Deshaun Watson. And here's Kirk Cousins coming out and saying, no, man, I'll be healthy next year. I was hurt this year. I'm looking forward to a new lease on life, a new life in professional football. I'm good. That's kind of throwing the coaching staff under the bus a little bit too, isn't it?
Well, I mean, trying to make more money, he still wants to play. But back to the Browns. I mean, if I see some like, why don't we trade Kirk in here? Trade Kirk for Myles Garrett. He's not going to get traded, folks. He's going to get cut because the way the contract works, the team's going to be able to take him on for league min, and the Falcons will be on the hook for the rest.
Well, you can include him, but you're only going to get $1.2 million in salary cap relief, and maybe as just a sweetener here. Everybody agrees you're going to end up here anyway. Let's just include it as part of the trade, just for the heck of it. It's also going to cost you 2 first-round picks, because John asks, Scott, what would you give up for Myles Garrett?
I asked you, but I think you're probably talking 2 firsts and maybe a second and third as well. But it's going to be very expensive. Question is, would Myles Garrett want to go to Atlanta? It's coming out of the Senior Bowl. It seems, or the Super Bowl media going on. It sounds like he wants to go to a more guaranteed contender. But I mean, if Myles Garrett's on the market, guess 31 teams should be calling because he's that kind of player. Even though he's 30 years old, he's still the best pass rusher in football. Micah Parsons is closing the gap there, but
TJ Watt's out there too, does a pretty good job.
I think he really fell off this season. He might actually be available.
He's older, yeah. He's 3 or 4 years older than that, because because Myles is still 29. So you figure 29 to 33 years old, that's 5 years.
Yeah.
So going back, what would you give up? I start the conversation with 2 firsts.
Mm-hmm.
And people blanch at that. They're like, 2 firsts. Oh, my God. So I put it in writing. I wrote it up this morning. You can check it out, falconsi.com. The Falcons took Michael Penix at number 8 because they didn't plan on drafting in the top 10 again. We won't be this high to take a quarterback again. All right. Well, you're at 15 this year. And I said 10-7 should be the floor for this offense and Myles Garrett. And the highest team, you know, I used this. I manipulated the stats to suit my narrative because the lowest team was 18 at 10-7 is picking 18th. And the highest team is the Rams. They're at 26th. Would you trade a 15 and a number 26 for Myles Garrett, assuming you can get an extension on him, lower his cap, and keep him for 5 years with Myles Garrett? Yeah, you would.
Yeah.
Yes, you would. 2 first-round picks. John, I give up 2 first-round picks to start, and then let's talk. Then let's talk from there and see if you guys get crazy, Cleveland, or if someone else, more importantly, someone else gets crazy. The Detroit Lions come in with Aiden Hutchinson and say, we want Myles Garrett on the other side of Aiden Hutchinson. What would they give up?
I mean, you're talking again, 2 firsts at the starting point, and then multiple day 2 picks, maybe even a player going back just to kind of fill the void on a rookie contract. Somebody like Pascal or one of those defensive tackles, but they stand out to me. The Packers stand out to me a lot as well. I mean, that's a team that they want to with Josh Hapley. I can't remember the name of their defensive coordinator, coming from Boston College. I want to say Heupel, but that's Tennessee's head coach, Volunteers. But they want to run more of a 4-man front, rush only 4, and they've struggled with that this season. Packers definitely make a lot of sense to me. I know the Chiefs are a team that's been tossed out there as well, which that just seems not fair, but whatever. The LA Rams, I mean, they finally had their picks, right? I know they got Verse out there, but they're known to trade capital for sure things without a doubt. And I saw Buffalo and Washington. So pretty much all the teams that went pretty far in the playoffs. It seems like you pick from any of those squads, it could be them. But yeah, for the Falcons, I mean, if you can go get them, I think you do. Again, you're kind of in a weird spot because the dead cap hit from Cousins, how competitive are you actually going to be next season? It all comes down to just how good Penix can be. I mean, in the end of the day, but I think Penix, he's such a small sample size that I'm not ready to say this is a franchise quarterback. Love the arm talent. We'll see what happens, but you have a 3 to 4 year window now to try to take advantage of that rookie cost control quarterback. Otherwise, it's like you're paying him, and if he's not one of those top 4 guys, it's pretty hard to get return value on it. You don't want to let those guys walk still, but it's pretty hard to get the return value. So you make a run for it, no doubt. And he's one of the best defensive players, first ballot Hall of Famer at the most valuable position. I mean, even with the dysfunction you had this year, Scott, if you put Myles Garrett into this ecosystem, you're the 15th best defense at worst, just to have that presence on the field and how it changes the matchups. But he is, I don't think he's going to go to Atlanta, but of course, Falcons should give up 2 first-round picks plus if they have the ability to do it, just to rectify the room that has just been horrific. I think I heard from somebody, Pro Football Focus related, said that the Falcons' edge room has been ranked the worst in the NFL 3 of the last 4 seasons, which you'd have to try to be that bad. It's unbelievable. So again, if he's available and you can go get him, do it.
Well, it doesn't. When you got Ade Ogundeji, God bless him, starting in 2021 because he had to, because that's how bad the team was. He was horrendous. And so what was it? It was that year it was Ade Ogundeji and Stephen Means. And Stephen Means started the next year. That was 2022. Stephen Means was a 2-year starter here, had a sack in 2 seasons, and it hasn't gotten a ton better. And John, talking about Kirk, he was literally grimacing with every throw. I noticed that starting in preseason, though. So I'm like, that's just what he does. Every throw he has, because I can go through and look up and imagine, and I can bring you up week 2 or week 12. It doesn't matter. Every throw, Kirk's like this. So it's, and if you're listening after the fact, he's making a face like he's in pain. That was every throw. That didn't start in week 10 or whatever against New Orleans. That was all season. Now I'd like to go back and say, is this what he looks like in the past? I don't know, but that face has been all year. That wasn't just a new thing. And Joe Andrews, I see you over on Facebook talking about give up. He says Kirk and Kyle Pitts in a first rounder. Kirk and Kyle Pitts have no trade value right now. So, that's a non-starter. Their contracts are worth more than they are in a trade. So you'd have to move on from Kyle Pitts, you'd probably have to eat money on that, which kind of defeats the purpose. And, we've talked about what would Kyle Pitts fetch right now. If you could get a 4th rounder and $5 million in salary cap relief from his $11 million dead contract, guaranteed contract, you'd probably take it on Kyle Pitts. You'd consider it. I still think you hold on to him for a year just to see what happens. You've gone this far with him, for God's sakes. But Kirk Cousins and Kyle Pitts are not viable trade candidates for the Atlanta Falcons right now, Nick.
Yeah, I mean, somebody might take a chance on Kyle Pitts still. There probably has to be an exchange of money to be done there. But I think somebody, just the talent, the youth still, as you always like to say, those kind of guys are coach killers. But damn, maybe I'm the one who can fix him, right? I'm the one who can unlock that obvious talent there. And maybe so. I mean, again, he is young and he is extremely talented. I mean, you do have proof of concept too. His rookie season, it was there.
One more year. You go one more year. It's expensive, but it's not that expensive. It's $11 million. Let's see what happens. If he has a good season, tag him, make him do it again. Because the tag would be about $11 million again. If he wants to hold out, he can hold out for the whole. You can sit out for the whole year then. After being a non-factor for 3 years, and you have good first year and a good contract year, he's an absolute candidate for a franchise tag then.
Yeah, I'm with you. I do think though that if he was available, teams would be sniffing around.
Yeah, for sure, but not worthy.
Not equitable to the value of holding him in the dead cap. Is what you're saying.
He's not an asset to try and get Myles Garrett with.
No,
he's a salary cap balancer of sorts, or maybe this will be he's a throw-in piece. It's like, okay, 2 first-rounders, and we'll take on Kyle Pitts' contract, and you trade us Kirk Cousins too. So I get $10 million in salary cap relief, and I give up 2 first-rounders, and I get Myles Garrett back. I mean,
Browns can't be taking.
That's where Kyle Pitts is right now. He's a throw-in, balance the books type of guy.
Yeah, the issue is that the Browns cannot be taking on any cap.
Right.
They just can't. They have to go as cost control as possible the next 2 seasons. So maybe it's
Coach
a 3-team
says, good morning, Studs. Win the day. Appreciate you. He's got that red heart. It feels like Valentine's Day is coming on for sure. So right around the corner.
Tomorrow's my birthday, Scott. That's what he's celebrating. That's what it's about. I get 33. So thank you. Not getting old, man.
Yeah, your birthday's tomorrow, isn't it?
Yep.
2/6. So happy birthday, Nick. 33 years old. That was my number. You always had to root for other teams because the Falcons would be eliminated in the playoffs. So when you'd watch playoffs, you root for other teams. And like most kids, I like those silver shiny helmets of the Dallas Cowboys who were on TV every week. And I was a big Tony Dorsett fan. So 33 was kind of my number. So 33 was a good year. 33, I think, was the year I actually moved to California. So that feels like yesterday, dude. And now I can hardly even remember being there. I was in California for 10 years. I've been back for 10 years. Time just flies. Sam has a good question here about the hiding of the injury report. Yeah, he was injured. And Sam says, could it cost us a pick if we knew? Or could part of Kirk's contract be voided, for not revealing the injury? They knew. And you can downplay it. Oh, well, and that's why I said by lawyering it up a little bit, Sam. Yeah, but nobody's really healthy at this stage. That kind of CYA, cover your hiney. Nobody's really healthy, but yeah, I had a little bit of shoulder and an elbow, and now I have a chance to feel good. So there's nothing there. There's nothing there that will get you in trouble, so to speak. But it's a big signal that says, I wasn't healthy, I will be. Come and get me. I'm ready to play for you, because I'm not playing with the Atlanta Falcons. They've got their starter. So when they cut me, I'm interested in playing for you. And my drop off was because of this, the soreness in my shoulder and elbow, but I'm good to go now. You saw me before that. I set their passing record before that game. So no, I didn't just fall off a cliff. I'm good to go. Kirk Cousins is gone, but no, I don't expect any of that to happen. There was a question in here. I love this question. So hopefully
I did want to say, Scott, there could be a fine associated if you were intentionally hiding an injury. Yep. I don't think it would cost
but not a pick. Yep.
but there could potentially be a fine. And as far as the contract goes, I don't know if there would be potentially a settlement or something if that occurs. I mean, as Cousins said already, and if they had to go to court, you could use his own language against him. But like everybody's dealing with niggles and pains at that time of the year if you play in the NFL. So I don't know if anything would come from it, but I do think that there is a possibility of a fine. I wouldn't bet on it, but we'll see.
Mark, good morning. Hope you're doing well over in Texas and over there on Facebook. Roy, same to you. Good to see you. And the Gamers Barbershop has this question. Are we kind of pissed at Kirko or are we pissed at Raheem? Yes. The answer is yes. But for me, it boils down to, you've got concussion protocols out there for a reason because competitors will want to compete. You have to sit them down. Kirk Cousins will want to compete. If he were to sit himself out, my shoulder hurts a little bit, he would have been grilled. He would have been drilled. But this all goes back to, for me, we effed up signing Kirk Cousins to begin with, and by God, we're going to do everything we can to make sure that this works out. We shouldn't have signed him to begin with. I've seen people, talk about this in here before. Wouldn't it be great if we go back and not sign him? Yeah, that ship was passed. But yes, that was one of the worst moves the Falcons have ever made, was signing Kirk Cousins. And I didn't like it. I didn't like it at the time. I hated it after the draft. And then hindsight has really proven it to be just an awful move. So that's kind of the 3 steps of the Kirk Cousins pick. I was like the rookie quarterback, but you're mad at the administration for this, for not sacking up, sitting him down after watching him play like that, knowing something was bothering him, and playing a rookie. Why we're going to the plan. We're going to stick to the plan. We're going to let him sit for a year. Why? He's got 60 starts in his college career. He's a 24-year-old man. And meanwhile, Bo Nix and Jaden Daniels are on their way to the playoffs. Why? You cannot be stubborn. I always say, Nick, I don't spend too much time planning because plans have to change. You've got to be flexible. I want to know everything. I'll spend more time gathering information than I will making a plan. That way we can adjust on the fly. I don't care if your plan is to turn him into Jordan Love. Well, we got to sit him for a year. Why? Play the man. Play him. You can put him back down if Kirk's healthy. If that's not working, you're not going to give up on Michael Penix because he didn't play well for 2 weeks his rookie season, for goodness sakes. So I'm pissed at the Atlanta Falcons, and that's a common refrain, my friend.
Yeah. It's I don't know. I've been bummed all around. It was a disappointing year. The NFC South was up for grabs. Now, granted, the Buccaneers were better than I gave them credit coming into this season. I didn't expect Liam Cohen to be as good as he was, and I wasn't buying the Baker Mayfield stability here. But it's still up for grabs. There's still not a superstar quarterback in that division. Maybe in the NFC, we'll see on Jaden Daniels still, but you still got a chance for sure. It's just trying to get through another dead cap ramification after a flub. But we got Delacroix coming in, says, happy birthday, Nick. Tomorrow's my birthday too. Well, hell yeah. February 6th, buddy. Along with Bob Marley and Babe Ruth. Those are the famous ones that I know of our birthdays.
You got the whole spectrum covered right there.
Yeah,
you got
pretty good.
You got entertainment, you got sports, and you got science with this guy over here with Nick. So appreciate you, Delacroix. Thank you for the super chat, my friend. It feels like a newer time in there. So here's to you. Appreciate it. SFC Jay Williams. This is an old head. We know this guy. So thank you very much for coming to see us today. He says, Scott and Nick, what Kirk Cousins did was a bad move, especially for the team. It's almost like a snitch trying to get out of jail and telling on his friends. And I agree, Jay. This was him basically saying, I'm gone. I'm out. You don't talk like that unless you know you're already gone. So, he's still under contract. This could be it. And if he's not, then this might be the first step of him trying to force a move. You don't want me around here. Because him doing that and talking like that in public, new lease on life. I can't wait to a fresh start. He wants out. He wants out. And you don't want him around the team like that. That's why I've been saying from the beginning, this isn't Madden. Forget the numbers. The numbers are about the same, I know. It's going to be about a $40 million dead cap next year, whether he's there or not. So you might as well keep him. personalities don't work like that. Team building and chemistry and being in the building and going to war for 12 months, sweating blood and tears in the offseason does not work like that. You don't want him around.
For me, I think it's like a relationship.
Proved it yesterday, Nick.
I would say it's like a relationship. He's didn't go well with the last one. Well, it wasn't my fault. I was not my best right now. I had this terrible toothache going on, and made me really moody. And so I can still be a good partner. It wasn't all my fault that it didn't work out there. And also I look at them, so I feel like it's a little bit of that going on. But thank you, SFC. Hope you're doing well. Happy Wednesday to you.
Yeah, thank you, my friend. And like I said, he wants out. Again, this isn't Madden. We're not playing with spreadsheets and numbers. This is team building and chemistry, and it's important. And having Kirk Cousins on the team would be a bad move. I mean, again, paying him to be on somebody else's team is a bad move. Guys, it's all bad. There's no good way out of this unless the Cleveland Browns fairy comes around and says, "Oh, let's trade you a third-round pick, and we'll take on $27 million of his contract." Yeah, that ain't happening. It's just not. The best case is wherever he signs, it's going to be one for $1.25 million. You'll get that back. Well, 1.25 is a long snapper, maybe a pretty good one. So that's what you're hoping for. And you start the clock where you save 30. I just looked this up. It's like $32.5 million on his contract in 2026. So one more year and you get $30 million back. It's only 20 if he's not gone in the next 5 weeks. It's only $20 million. So, and people say, well, what about a backup quarterback? If you have to go to your backup quarterback, you're pretty much screwed anyway in the NFL. And you can go get a rookie. You can go get a vet min. And, as far as talking about, well, it would nice to be having a mentor there. Well, that's what Zach Robinson is also. He's a young guy, former quarterback. I mean, your coach should be a mentor of sorts too, right? Why do I have to have a vet who's as old as Zach Robinson, who's got the same resume as Zach Robinson, with a helmet on? I don't understand that line of thinking, Nick. If you don't have, a relatable guy already in the room with him, I don't need that guy on the roster then taking up part of the 53, Nick.
Yeah, I'm not too worried about it. We'll figure it out. And again, next season's all about finding out with Michael Penix and hopefully getting that defense to a baseline acceptable level. And with that, Raheem Morris and Terry Fontenot protecting their job. I mean, that's the tough part with this team, right? You have the young quarterback we don't know about just yet, and you should go in hopefully holistically, like, okay, well, playoffs, whatever. We just need to find out about Penix. But if Morris and Fontenot have a bad year, you might be gone. So it's tough.
Yeah, I think the patience.
Curtis coming in here. The Falcons have. Go ahead.
Yeah, I don't think that you're going to get your normal 3-year run with this roster. This was a roster that was built to, we want playoffs now, compete 26 and 27 if they're 25, 26. I don't think this is if they go 7-10 again, have another losing season. I don't know that they get year 3. Most will. I don't think that this group would get year 3. But Curtis, good to see you, my friend. He says the Falcons have become a joke to the NFL due to mismanagement. Don't see any top defensive player wanting to come here with how this staff mismanaged using Matt Judon and Justin Simmons. And as far as the Falcons have become a joke to the NFL, guys, we've been there for a while. It was like that in the 80s, and then we were a clown. We were a circus show with Jerry Glanville, Eugene Robinson in 1998. I was 25 years old in 1998, so I just turned 26 when the Super Bowl happened against the Broncos. And at a time I said, the goal for any Falcons fan really is to just go through the year, to not be embarrassed to say you're a Falcons fan. Now, remember, this is 98. So, the 2000s of Matty Ice and going to the playoffs every year, that hadn't happened. We made it 364 days until Eugene Robinson gets arrested for soliciting a blowjob from an undercover cop the night of this is before the Super Bowl. Thanks, Eugene. Appreciate that. Ugh, what a disaster that was. But can Jeff Ulbrich, what kind of pull does he have? He had some pretty good defenses up in New York. Raheem Morris is charismatic. This offense is solid. Jesse Bates and Caden Ellis are going to be 2 of your best recruiters. Grady Jarrett is very good at that too. Myles Garrett's from Texas. I don't know that would have anything to do, but again, you got to watch out for the teams that are, NFC Championship, AFC Championship types. The Philadelphia Eagles call, the Detroit Lions call. Hell, if Dan Quinn and the Washington Commanders call right now, you're battling an uphill battle. Mm-hmm. Can you meet the price for the Browns? Probably. Can you beat everybody else out? Probably not. Take the field. But it makes sense here, obviously. They could make the trade. They'd have enough to make the trade, but you're definitely battling an uphill battle, Curtis. I don't expect Myles Garrett to be an Atlanta Falcon. I expect him to be, with a team that made the playoffs this year.
Yeah, me too. But you never know. Money can change things. A good pitch can change things. So Falcons have to try, I think. And also, we're keeping an eye on still. It's been our one-armed man out here, Scott. But Max Crosby also out there, posting some interesting things as well. So it's not all.
Yeah, you sent me that. He posted, I'll be a champion. He threw the Eagles thing. That's just weird to do before the Super Bowl. Like that's weird for a guy who's still under contract. For Max Crosby to do that. If you hadn't seen it, he posted, I'll be playing for a Super Bowl champion, something along those lines with a Fly Eagles Fly logo in February before the window's even open. He's still under contract. I'm like, that's borderline tampering. Somebody stole my phone type of post.
Yeah, it's dumb. But also, I mean, he's been unhappy. He said, if we don't keep Antonio Pierce, I want out, and kept Antonio Pierce, and not great. But I will say, if there's anybody I think would be fun to play with, it's probably Pete Carroll up there as well. It does seem like the Raiders are on the up and up. Brought in Chip Kelly to be the highest paid offensive coordinator or any coordinator in NFL history. And there's new ownership in Davis. Sold a bunch of the stock. So there's money out there in Vegas now, actually. So we'll see how it plays out, but I'm keeping an eye out for Crosby as well.
Real quick, Scott is all prepped for this offseason because Nick just did it last year with Wilson. Yeah, on Broncos for Breakfast, we talked a lot about the Russell Wilson. The difference there's two big differences between Kirk Cousins and Russell Wilson and then the Atlanta Falcons and Denver Broncos that make it like a 95% chance that Kirk Cousins is gone, where it was a 200% chance that Russell Wilson was gone. The one was Sean Payton hated Russell Wilson. I hated coaching him, didn't like his persona, didn't like his social media presence, didn't like any of it. That's one. Number two was when the new league year hit, it was a $35 million guaranteed that comes in the new league year. With Kirk, it's only 10. So those are the two big things. There doesn't seem to be any real animosity between Kirk Cousins and the Atlanta Falcons. And then the money is less than a third of what it was for Russell Wilson. Because when Russell signed that extension, he didn't play a minute on his extension. He had 2 years left on his deal when he came to the Denver Broncos in the trade and then signed the big 5-year extension. Well, he was cut after 2 years. He never played a minute on that new contract. So it was those are the two big things there that says I'm like 98% sure with Kirk Cousins that he won't be on the roster come September 1st. I think it'll be way before that, but just to say September 1st, I think it'll be in the next 5 weeks. With Russell Wilson, I would have bet my house. I would have put my house on that one that he was gone. That one was pretty easy.
Yeah, divorce was imminent. We'll see what happens going forward with Cousins, but I do know we saw it in the chat. Scott got about 10 minutes left. We got to get this mock in. I think we got to do something here. It's a little fun. You told me to remind you. Here we are.
Okay, we could do a quick mock draft here.
Let's do a 3-round mock or a 4-round, whatever. I know the Falcons are missing some picks, so let's get. I feel like I'm pretty confident
we'll do a 4-round. Let me do
120.
We can do a 4-round mock. I know I'm a little bit better now. Some guys, I'll recognize some names when we get down into the 4th round, where I might not have known them before I went to the Senior Bowl this year. So let me click on. We'll go public. We'll go care for provisional value, draft for needs. We'll knock that down just a little bit, and we'll heighten the randomness. I will share this screen, entire screen. We'll share this. We'll enter draft, and then we'll zoom in some so we can see it just a little bit better. Zoom, 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 zoom. I think that should be good. And we'll hit start draft. So you see Luther Burden. I'm not a huge fan of his. I'm not a huge, I don't like any of the receivers in the top 15 in this class that I've seen, Nick.
I like Teteroa McMillan, but I'm kind of a fan of the massive player wingspan that can break tackles like he can. I think maybe he's not going to be a number one, but he's a unique player. I would love him in the slot. If you want to be an 11 personnel that functions like 12 personnel, he interests the hell out of me. But I don't know how much you've watched Burden, Scott, but this season I felt like it was a down year. If you go back to his 2023 tape, you're like, oh, there's the explosive player that's been promised.
And there's McMillan. He's. I haven't watched him enough. Michael probably has watched him a ton. With Arizona, I haven't. Malachi going 5. Malachi Starks, nice. Abdul Carter probably won't fall that low to 8, but he'd be someone worth trading up for if he's there at 8. I mean, the Falcons draft 8 every year, so he'd be worth trading up for and get that guy. Mikael Williams is gone already. Luther Roy says now you can pay Nick back for scrolling so fast. Yeah, we're gonna take it a little easier. But you look at the top 2 available players right there are probably guys that you would seriously consider and have been mocked to the Falcons a lot. A couple of edge guys, James Pierce Jr., Mike Green, and then let's see, Walter Nolan, Shamar Stewart. I'm not in on Shamar Stewart at 15. I'm going to pass on him pretty much every time we do a mock. Jack Sawyer, and then I don't see really any reason. And Trenton Houston says we could use another alpha receiver outside of London. And Mooney had a really good season, but how well will he do? Ray McLeod was his career season, but do we expect a regression back to the norm for him? And if there's an injury there, you're screwed. So receiver is definitely a need here, but I don't think there's going to be a receiver available at 15 that would make me say that it was anything other than a reach at this point. That what the biggest need on this team is. The best guys on the board are James Pierce and Mike Green. Which direction would you go on this one?
I probably lean Mike Green just because I feel like he has a more multiplicity in his path forward. Because James Pierce, I just worry that he's going to be always such an issue on rundowns that he's going to be a problem. And Mike Green, I think he's small, but he's not exactly thin. Like he's got like thickness through his frame. So I think the run defense isn't as limited as James Pierce. And I think he's maybe not as bendy, but just as explosive. So Pierce, probably a little bit higher finesse and bend getting after it. But I think Green's got just a little bit a higher floor, so to speak.
Green measured 6'3" and an 1/8, 251. Holy cow! With 8, what's with these small hands?
Yeah,
8 5/8 inch hands. That's the smallest of any defensive lineman. One linebacker has smaller hands than that. Eugene Asante out of Auburn. Those are tiny hands. So when you see him drop a pass, not only does he have defensive hands, but he's got tiny hands. So he's got linebacker hands. That's why he's on defense. Yeah, knock it down. Nope. I need you to wrap up. I don't need you to grab on that one.
One thing about Mike Green
with either of those two guys, and I'm willing to go Mike Green. I think Mike Green's a little overhyped coming out of the Senior Bowl. So we'll see if that regresses back some. Or we get to NFL Combine and Pro Days, and he throws up some Micah Parsons numbers, and he's getting drafted in the top 10. He looked good, but I'm not ready. I'm not settled on 15. Period. Basically, y'all, is what I'm saying on this. Is I'm not into this without. I want the Combine. I'm ready for the Combine and Pro Days before we start. You really start seeing me pound the table for guys. But we can go Mike Green there. Next pick is in the second round, 46 overall. There's another edge. Darian Porter is a solid corner out of Iowa State. Jack Besh, his stock's really come up. Good wide receiver. Brett Besh's son, I believe. Tight end has fallen down. And see, I've done this before. The last time I did this is where I went in the second round based on guys knowing that linebacker is a need. Tight end could be a need, and this tight end is a need. But I've got Kyle Pitts for one more year. I'm going to give him a chance. I'm not going tight end in the first or second. So when I look at this, I am most interested right now in the linebacker in either Jalen Walker or Jihad Campbell.
I don't think Jalen Walker will be there. I think that PFF specifically is lower on him than reality, but we'll see how it plays out there. I did want to give a shout out to the Oregon guys here, Derek Harmon and Jordan Birch, as well as the Tennessee guy, Omar Lott. You scrolled past him already, but he's got some good reps on the interior defensive line, and apparently he's a dude as far as culture goes. Like, he was one of the ones that after a rep, he was running back and like talking to the coaches and hyping everybody else up. So good energy guy as well. I think the obvious pick here is, Jalen Walker. I'm going to pretend that he's gone. Maybe we need to use a different simulator just to get a different board in here sometimes, Scott. But the other one who I thought was interesting, at least, can you scroll up? Is it crazy to double dip on edge?
No, it's not.
JT,
it's such a need. And you've got, who do you have at edge right now? You've got Arnold Ebiketie,
contract
who's
year,
a 3 probably. And that's it as far as guys that can play in the NFL. Well, what about people are forgetting about Braylon Trice? No, we're not. We're just not counting on a 3rd round edge coming off of a knee injury in August to come in and be the answer at edge. Whatever you get from Braylon Trice in 2025 is gravy. He'll make the roster. He'll get a chance to earn it. But if I go into this offseason thinking Braylon Trice is my answer at one of the edges, I'm an idiot. So make him earn it. Obviously, you haven't invested but a 3rd round pick in him. That it's not crazy to go. If you think an edge is the best guy here, you can absolutely go edge again. I don't know these guys down here well enough that I would go against Jihad Campbell.
JT Tuimoloau.
That I know you need a linebacker. Whatever you think about Braylon Trice could be the second coming. Fine. I'll agree with you. I know the Falcons need a linebacker too.
Yeah, I just wanted to give a shout out because let's say the Falcons don't go edge round 1. We might be talking about a JT Tuimoloau here. He was a super recruit, 5-star, really good basketball player as well. And I don't think he is overall the most bendy edge rusher in the world. But my God, you are getting a professional player in this one. His edge setting, his length, the power he has in his hands, he's going to be a good player for a long time in the league. I think he's got an incredibly high floor. So again, probably more 4.3 than 3.4, but just a power cruncher, and he's going to rush with discipline. I really like him a lot. He's a leader. Jack Sawyer is a little bit more the fire and brimstone, but JT Tuimoloau was a good player. He played through that ankle injury in that Texas game. Looked like he was going to be done. He went to the back locker room, probably got a little syringe or something in the ankle, and came back out. And again, he's a good player. He's not another Zach Harrison. Zach Harrison's much bigger, much stiffer kind of player. So I think you got Jihad Campbell here. Somebody in the chat also said, if Jalen Walker was there at 15, wouldn't he be the pick? Yeah, we should have had a conversation about him too, but he's not up there because the darn PFF board.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think I'm fine with Jihad Campbell here. Get some athleticism, some length, some 3-down multi-tool ability there. But
then 4th round is when, as Roy says, Falcons need a safety as well. For day 2, and I'd love for the Falcons to somehow get another day 2 pick. This is I really want to lean into non-premium position as a possible starter. Safety is maybe the most non-premium position for average. You say that and you got, one of the best playmakers in the league at safety in Jesse Bates. But you can get a starting safety in the 4th round. I could get a starting linebacker in the 4th round. I can't really count on getting edges on round 3, round 4. So I want to hit that range. That can be really good players. Savion Jones, going back to this, Savion Jones was okay. Willie Lampkin, guard. There's nobody here that's, blowing wind up my skirt so much that I know, but I don't know all these guys. Who the sleeper is, and here's the 3rd one.
Yeah.
It's Femi Oladejo. He's a sleeper for me, dude. If he goes below 125, I will be shocked.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's the one you take here, Scott. I know that it's
I did it this is basically the draft I had last time, except I think I got someone else in the first. I think he's a beast. I really do. People are like, oh, Mike Green, Mike Green, Mike Green. I'm like, did you see 00? Did you see him? I'm like, his motor, he measured 00 measured 6'2 3/4, 261, with 33.5-inch arms. So his arms are a little bit longer. He's a hair shorter, but he's got longer arms. And the motor and the burst and his get off, his bend was phenomenal. I love that guy.
I like how there's a lot of potential there because he played linebacker. Scott, he was the Mike for that UCLA team, and they moved him because
I really like that guy. So keep an eye on 00, y'all, when he comes out and where he goes. That'll be one of those guys. Again, I'm going to the Senior Bowl, and when I say I like a guy, I follow his freaking career. I want to know how I did when I'm doing these things. But Terry says, are we in line to receive any comp picks for vets we might lose during free agency? Only if you don't sign any. But if you lose Drew Dahlman and don't get into the free agent market, then you would get a comp pick for Drew Dahlman. It might be a day 3, a late day 3. But remember, everyone you sign offsets anybody you lose. And the Falcons are not a team that has the depth of talent that you're going to be losing free agents and replenishing in the draft. Typically, they need to be in the free agent market still to still build. So maybe, but as soon as they signed even Ray McLeod last year, Ray, Darnell, and Kirk, any comp stuff was finito. But Drew Dahlman is the guy to watch. And if they're not players in free agency, which is possible, hey, listen, we're going to ride out this $40 million dead cap hit with what we've got, get experience from our young guys, re-sign some of our key players, build through the draft, trade down a few times, pick up 6 new players in the draft, and you lose Drew Dahlman, then yeah, it's possible, but it would be a 6. And when would that kick in? Like 2026, 2027?
I think so. Yeah, I think
so. It comes later. So nothing this year for sure.
And I got to say, I mean, we've talked about it a little bit, but I think you and I will probably both be banging the drum. Falcons try to trade back from 15, 5, 10, 15 spots, recoup a little bit of the draft capital you're missing in the mid rounds. And we'll see. I'm kind of manifesting maybe a Broncos Falcons move there.
15 to 20. It works.
You get yourself a third round pick.
The first year we did this, y'all, the Broncos and Falcons made a trade. And it was the Broncos traded up into the Falcons spot and took running back Javonte Williams. In the second round spot of the Broncos, the Falcons took Richie Grant, and they got a 4th round pick in return and took the best player out of that bunch in center Drew Dahlman, who was about to become, I mean, I think the Falcons, and Steven asked this question earlier, I think the Falcons need to bring back. They've put all of these resources into this offense, and including the offensive line. They've got an expensive offensive line. They can't afford to have a big question mark at center with a new quarterback. I think they have to lock up Drew Dahlman. Now, if Drew Dahlman is hell-bent on leaving, then there's nothing you can do. He's earned the right to go get free agency, playing out his contract, not re-signing anything. But I think they need to re-sign Drew Dahlman, and I'll be a little surprised if they don't.
Yeah. We'll see what happens there. And it's just not enough picks, right? I would have loved to have an interior defensive lineman in this group. We didn't take a cornerback, which feels bad, but just not enough picks to hit every need. So got to maximize those picks. I think with so few picks, Falcons fans need to have the perception of we can't be hyper-focused on one singular position other than maybe edge. You got to hit when you have such few numbers. So hopefully we can look back when we say we hit on those picks there, Scott.
Yeah, and Trenton says, some of these second-tier free agents, like Isaiah Oliver, they were here and they played in New York. Yeah, you can get some of those guys. I'm just not necessarily counting on them to come in and start. There will be 20 new players at least on the team next year. So we haven't delved that far down into things as far as, we're looking at draft picks right now. We'll look at free agency, I said, probably starting next week. But yeah, you're going to be active in free agency. You have to be. I mean, you're losing too many on the back end. Do you really want to re-sign Mike Hughes and D. Alford? Those are free agents. Not really. some of the interior defensive line guys that are out of contract. Kadarius Hodge, I sure would like to have him back. Love that guy. Falcons legend, Kadarius Hodge. But on that note, we're going to get out of here. We will be back on Monday. We'll get back into we'll be talking probably a little Super Bowl. I guess I have to watch it if everybody's going to want to talk about it on Monday morning. I guess I'll have to watch some of it. I don't really care. So I'm rooting for the Eagles. Again, I want some change. It's somebody else's turn, even though the Eagles won it not too long ago. So not the most exciting matchup I'm looking forward to. Much rather would have seen Buffalo, Detroit, but it's Buffalo and Detroit. Yeah. I feel for them. But Denver Luke, appreciate you coming in. Coach as well. Sam getting us started over here. Delacroix, SFC Williams, Curtis Case. Y'all killed it today on Super Chats, and it means a lot. It truly does. It has been a gorgeous week in the Southeast. Long may it continue through your weekend. I hope y'all have a great Super Bowl weekend. We'll see you Monday. Thanks for being here, everybody.
Yep. Thank you guys so much. Have a